So Nolene, what do you want us to do when we hit 0? You want us to turn everything on? You're going to give us directions on what you want us to do.
Good morning, everyone who's joining us. Welcome to our session where we will be sharing insights on the research that we have done on the drone, the research we have done on drones, which we have a publication that is available for everybody to access at the end of the session. So welcome everybody. Feel free to send questions and messages on the chat. But to get started, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Jabulile, popularly known as Dr. J. So I will be your facilitator today. We've got about 1.5 hours for this session. And then I'd like to introduce as well my partner, Tamiko Sher, who's going to be sharing the insights from the publication. That's Tamiko. Welcome, Tamiko. And then also would like to introduce, she'll introduce herself in more detail later, but just to give you an idea who we have here online who'll be talking. And we've got as well panelists that are going to join us later after Nico has shared the insights from the publication. So we've got Kim James. Kim, show your face a bit. Okay, that is Kim. So everybody sees Kim with a nice smile there. So Kim is a drone operator. So those who in the industry, they call themselves ROC, but for us who are not experts, so we'll call her a drone operator. And she's also a member of the drone council. And then second, we've got also AIfE. AIfE, show your face. That's AIfE, our only gentleman, looking handsome there. AIfE is a CEO of Omnipresent and is also a CEO of ICT Youth Council. So he likes the CEO work. So that's AIfE is going to be also one of our panelists. And also just to mention our panelists as well, one of the people that we interviewed during the research. And then lastly, we've got Ekelebogile. Ekelebogile, if you can show your face there. Okay, that's Ekelebogile for you, smiling there. So Ekelebogile is a CEO of AB4IR and founding director also of the Drone Council. So we've got, we loaded here with experts. They know the industry in and out, and they're going to be in conversation with us towards the end. And they'll also answer some of the questions that you have. So welcome again to everybody. So this is our own insight conversation from the experts. So you have seen our experts there that we have. Before we get into the details, I'll let Nolene to share a short video with us that gives us just an overview of what is happening out there, what the industry is all about. It's just a very short one, just high level. Nolene? Thank you, Nolin, for sharing that. The end says, what's next for South Africa? So before we go to Tamiko to share the insights that came out of the research that we did, you might be wondering who are these guys that are hosting this amazing session. So I would like to just give you an overview of who we are and how did we come about doing this, this research. I'll just share my slide there, just a quick one. Okay, while we wait for that, just note that there might be some disruption a bit, maybe with some of our panelists because of the load shedding. But we are crossing fingers that we won't have any issues and until we finish. So if you can bear with us, if now and then maybe there isn't a very good, why is my slide show not sharing? Just a minute for me. There you go. Okay. So this is us, AIfE. So we are a new NPO. And what we will be sharing with you today is the insights and solutions from experts relating to drones. And what AIfE is all about. So I'm one of the co-founders, and Tamika is going to be sharing the insights later, is my partner. And I'm also the board chair of AIfE. So what AIfE really is about, this is AIfE is abbreviated for African Institute for Entrepreneurship. And as I said earlier, we are a non-profit organization. And our focus really is mainly on research and thought leadership. And we're still a very new organization, as I said. So the publication is our first product out there. And we really have about 5 pillars that we are focusing on as AIfE, which really drives us and what we really want to see making an impact with out there. So first is research and training of young researchers. So as we do research and as we work, what we do, we take on young people, and then we assist them to learn, research skills. We train them to get research skills so that they can be marketable out there. As we all know that we've got a big issue in South Africa of unemployment, especially of young people. So what we try to do is, as we do our work, one of the contribution we can make in the country is to help young people with research skills. And then the other pillar is thought leadership. So what we try to do as AIfE is bring together associates, partners, and affiliate throughout the continent to facilitate thought leadership. So as we do the research, as we work, then we try, which is what we're doing now, one of those, to try to write about what we research and find out and have this kind of conversation so that we don't keep the knowledge, but we can get the knowledge out there. And then the third pillar is ecosystem facilitation, where as AIfE, we employ an ecosystem approach in what we do so that we make sure that we can get a broader stakeholders be part of the conversations and the framework that we are trying to put out there in the country and in the continent. And also the fourth pillar is publication and case studies, which is what we are presenting to you today. As you can see at the top of my slide there, it says Innovation Summit. So our first launch was at the Innovation Summit in Cape Town, where we launched under the umbrella of SIS. And then today, we're gonna do a couple of these where we take a bit of pieces of what is in the publication and then share with the community out there. And then the last pillar is entrepreneurship initiatives. as a way of supporting and providing a platform for entrepreneurs, supporting them with information, identifying opportunities, sources of funding, which is one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs are always looking for out there. So this is the publication, and that is the cover page, which you will see. Whenever you see that, you will know then that is our publication, which at the end of the day, we will share a link where you can go and register and then download the publication from there. And the main thing really about publication, we are focusing, we are not a drone institute, but we are more about new tech. And what we are trying to say out there is that as a country, we've got high unemployment, and there's this new tech that is bringing a lot of opportunities and possibilities out there, as we have seen from the video, that we need to leverage on as a country. And Tamiko will talk a little bit more about the details of that. So the objective really of this webinar is to share the key insight of this publication and as the drone industry in South Africa and the potential of the unmanned aviation industry out there. True, am I too nervous? I'm missing all the English words. That was my presentation, and that's what AIfE is all about. And we hope you can also check us from our website and see a bit more as to what is happening at AIfE. I see my partner is ready out there. Tamiko, over to you. Hope you won't be as nervous as me.
Thank you very much, Jabulile, and we're very excited to see everybody. We have been watching the chat, so we're looking at your questions, and I'll see if I can answer to them as we go along. So as Jabulile indicated, today we're going to be sharing about the insights and some of the solutions that came from the experts, and I just want to say that it is so incredibly exciting for me as well every time I see that video and all the different usages that are in the drone industry, and it's quite amazing. Okay. All right, so let me go back here. Why did we do the drone industry? We get asked this quite often, and it's really a startup industry. South Africa is in what I would call a crawling stage. The rest of the world, some of the countries are in toddler stage, but South Africa is really just crawling. And our focus is new tech, new industries, new approaches. As you saw from the video, we estimate the industry will be $43 billion by 2025. And as Jabulile indicated, 32.6% unemployment, 46.3% youth unemployment in South Africa. We need new solutions. And new industries mean new jobs, they mean new businesses, and they mean endless entrepreneurs, opportunities and possibilities. So those of you who are entrepreneurs in the audience, we encourage you to look at this industry if you haven't done so already. It is incredibly exciting, and there is a lot going on in it. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the research. We have a very robust qualitative research methodology. We conducted 41 interviews, 37 from them from South Africa, 11 from around the rest of the world. You know, because the industry is so new, and I'll share a little bit about the history, you can't just take into account what's happened in South Africa. We had a team of 15, 7 researchers, 5 young researchers. Without those youngsters, we wouldn't be here where we are today. And 6 chapters with the appendices. And for those of you who are asking a question, the publication will be available at the end of this webinar in a link. And in the publication, in the appendices are the lists of all of the registered businesses, the registered training organizations, places where there's support and funding. So please look out for that at the very end with a link. Why are we here today? We believe the drone industry is going to change the world. We believe it is going to change how we move, how we operate. It's going to help bridge areas of socioeconomic divide. It's going to create jobs, create new businesses, and open up areas that many of us had no idea existed. When you look at the world of tech, and this is something that's incredibly exciting for us as researchers, There are things that have incremental changes, and there are those that change the world. Think about computers, think about cell phones. For those of you who've been around for more than 20 years, think back to when you first got your cell phone. Did you have any idea that 20 years later, you would be hooked up to this thing and looking at every 5 minutes and it would run your world? It is something that's going to really change the world. Why did we find in our research? South Africa was the first country in the world to present fully fledged regulations in 2015. These is the International Civil Aviation Authority, but we are not capitalizing on this early leadership position. The other thing that quite astonished me, and I have been flying for 26 years, I have a commercial pilot's license with an instrument rating, is this industry is amazingly complex. You look at drones and you see them flying around and you think, oh, what's the big deal? Why are people so worked up about drones? This industry is astonishing. It does require a level of expertise. And the biggest opportunities are not in the physical drones themselves. They're in the data collection and the offshoots. And what's interesting about South Africa and probably around the world is the drone industry is at a very unique juncture. And this offers an opportunity to level the playing field. We have not had brand new industries in this country, and we can take advantage of it in a completely different way. Okay, so what did some of the experts say? The biggest barrier is that people don't understand drones. Now, this is Keith Malaho. He sits on the CAA RPAS committee with the International Civil Aviation Authorities. And what's fascinating to me is, and we heard this from several people, is that drones will overtake the aviation industry. This is astonishing to me, that the conventional aviation industry is saturated. If you think about it, I have friends who are pilots who are driving trucks full of potatoes to make a living. There are airplanes parked out by the thousands in the middle of the deserts in America, unused. That industry has been decimated. We need to move on. So when you look at an industry like the drone industry, now, and nothing looks as beautiful and clean and neat as this, but you start out and you have a phase over a period of time how it develops. And what's really critical is you need this regulatory framework. In aviation, in the airspace, you need to have your policy and your support and your development and your frameworks in place. Without that, nothing happens. And what's really critical about this is people say, oh, well, that's Department of Transport, oh, that's CAA. I would say to you, no, that is government across the board. It's National Treasury, it's Home Affairs, it's people who build houses, it's anywhere in the government, it's firefighting, it's police. Everyone has to be considered in this regulatory framework because this is how the industry is going to develop. Then you have your business case development. That's your hobbyists, your model aircraft, your commercial pilots. And what's really fascinating is we have a lot of industry specialists. So this is people in agriculture and conservation who come in and combine their capability together with drones to create a very rich offering. And what's really fascinating for me about the drone industry is there's a lot of just ordinary entrepreneurs who just love tech. I had people say to us during the interviews, I just love technology. I love to fidget. I love to play. I do a bit of coding. I build some equipment. And then you have your industry formation. You have your bodies. You have your training organizations, your incubation. And then last, you have your ecosystem activation. And that is really your public engagement. This is where we look at new business uses. We look at where are the spin-offs? How do we create new businesses? What are the micro business opportunities? How do we create deeper industry understanding? What do we do to create startup pockets that can fund startups? What did the experts say in terms of the biggest barriers and the biggest enablers? Well, it's to be expected that since the legislation hasn't changed since 2015, it's not the legislation itself. It's the understanding and the execution of the legislation and the cost of meeting these requirements. We heard that it can cost anywhere from $300,000 to up to $2 million to get your commercial business license. And also it can take anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. And so if you are a brand new SMME and you're coming into this and saying, I want to start up a drone business, and you have to buy equipment and hang on to the equipment, write the manuals, hire the staff, and have all these facilities to show and wait 9 months, it makes it very prohibitively difficult for you to break into this industry, and more importantly, for you to make money and make it sustainable. So this is one of the barriers that currently exists. We do not believe this will be this will be an ongoing scenario in the future. This will change. The other thing that the experts said was people don't understand the whole drone industry value chain. If you look at just aviation, look at space. It's not just the robots. It's not just the space equipment and the astronauts. It's all the ancillary pieces behind this that make those industries come into play. The enablers include, there are huge opportunities across multiple industries, and I'll share a bit about this. And then the advancing technology, the costs are coming down. Evolution is unbelievable in this industry. We have a group of 15. We have a WhatsApp group. Every day we open up the WhatsApp. Oh my gosh, there's this one. Oh, they've reduced the battery. Increased the battery life by double. They brought down the cost. The sensors are able to, the technology is evolving at an incredible speed. And the last part, there are no real hardcore experts in this field. You cannot be doing an industry for 5 or 10 years. And there's a handful of people out there, we were lucky enough to speak to them, but you need collaborations. You need to work together. If you want to leapfrog forward and move this industry forward, you need to bring together all those experts in different areas and share your technology and your knowledge. This is Queen Intlovo, Managing Director of the South African Flying Labs. She was very excited. She's in all different areas of the industry, and she's schools, manufacturing, drone pilots, owning a training school. But her perspective at this point in time right now in South Africa, it's dominated by a few companies. If you're not well-heeled and not well capitalized, and you can't sit out that period to get the license to operate, it's tough to enter this market. And let's be honest, any new tech industry is tough. And the drone industry is a tech business plus an aviation business. Plus, if you're in security or another field, you basically need expertise in a few different industries to be successful here. So, sorry, I skipped a couple of pages. Okay, so here's 9 different insights from experts around the world. The first, the opportunity in the drone industry is in leadership. South Africa had a very early 2015 leadership role, and we need to take this forward. Okay, these are the insights we're getting from this group of 41 different interviews. The legislation is both a barrier and an enabler. Now, what's fascinating about policy and legislation is it has the power to turn an industry around. The drone industry is multi-sectoral, and it's more than just the drones themselves, it's the offshoots. And new industries such as drones offer an opportunity to ensure socioeconomic impact. We are not going to retrograde and go back and try to build in opportunities for women, for youth, for people with disabilities, and for SMMEs. We can build this in upfront. The technology is evolving. And drones for good is a very common terminology that often offsets the military usages as a core development. And the winners, if you're sitting in the audience, and I saw there's quite a few drone operators here, so you're committed. But those of you who are thinking, I'm looking at the industry, I'm not sure. Winners are the early adopters, those who get in now, who are innovating and who continue to evolve and keep up with the technology and keep evolving their businesses. And last is South Africa and the continent have great success stories, and I'll share a couple of those. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about drone leadership. Irvin Pignane is the chair of the Drone Council. Our friends across Africa are laughing at us. Oh, this hurts. We came out with this fantastic legislation. We were one of the first in the world. And now what's happening? We haven't capitalized on it. But if you think about this on the other hand, here is this incredible opportunity for Pan-African drone development. South Africa has a phenomenal aviation sector. We have incredible expertise in this country, and we have incredible infrastructure and personnel and maintenance and pilots, and the capability exists. If we can share our knowledge, our technology, our business opportunities, we can look at drone testing and drones for good. There's an incredible opportunity to grow this industry across the continent in a completely different way. Okay, this is a short snapshot of the drone industry where it stands right now. And this is really difficult as a researcher to stand up in front of you because it's really hard to pull industry data from an industry that's only 6 or 7 years old and no one's tracking things the same way. So it's not apples and apples, it's apples and oranges and pears. So in South Africa, we have only 1,800 pilots. The United States has 237,000. Oh, what's going on here? But remember, in the United States, this also includes people who are operating as camera operators. They're doing surveying, they're doing work. China, 500, almost 560,000. And what's really fascinating about this, remember, if you're a pilot, if you're a registered pilot, it doesn't automatically mean you can run a drone business. We don't even measure our drones. They come in the country primarily from China, from a company called DJI. We estimate we have about 40,000 to 60,000 around the country. The United States registers every drone. So we know how much investment is going in the United States. So 870,000 registered drones. So there's a snapshot of where these operators are. There's approximately 83. Every single day, the numbers are changing. If you go onto the website today in the CAA, you will see how this is evolving. But what's really critical here with these numbers is where we are as a country with such high unemployment, and particularly youth unemployment. To hold our industry back is untenable. We should be looking at hundreds of business and hundreds of thousands of jobs. So people ask me, what is this? What industries are drones usable for? Well, it's not a question of what are they usable for, what are they not usable for? Look at this: energy, utilities, mining, agriculture, real estate, information, insurance, healthcare. What industry are the drones not applicable for? And then if you look across the top of this graphic, mapping, surveying, inspection, photography, filming, detection, delivery, spraying, and seeding. The usages, and if you go down to the bottom on the other, broadcasting, sensing, transmitting, electromagnetic surveying, illumination, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at this map, you're probably saying, oh my gosh, there's a lot of numbers here. Look at the ones that have been bolded and the colors are highlighted out. And what that will tell you is where the crossover is. So for example, you have drone-based methodologies per industry, 80% in mapping and surveying and construction. You saw in the video, the flying over the bridge. Now, can you imagine if we were always doing all our surveying of bridges by drone, then you wouldn't be having to send someone to do the physical inspection of that particular area. If you were heat mapping your factory to see if you have lossage on your electricity, if you are checking to see where your security issues are, you've got your detection capability, and you can also heat map on securities. Insurance, auditing. Just think about auditing on itself. If you could audit, let's say you build 1,000 houses in the township, if you could audit your houses and check them by drone, how much more cost-effective and better service could you provide to the industry? So it's more than just the drones themselves, it's the offshoots. So this is probably one of the most important slides in my pack, and this is, I'll give credit to Drone II, they're one of the best sources. By 2026, it's estimated that nearly 80% of the drone industry will come by the services. So everyone thinks, oh, drones, yes, let me go buy drones, let me get a pilot's license, drone pilot's license, let me start a drone business. Oh, hold on. The hardware is about 16.4%. The software is 4.3%. The business is going to be in the services. This is the offshoots. So this can be internal drone operations. It could be operations to third-party operators. It could be system integration. You could be in law. You could be in insurance. You could be in finance. And any number of these places, this is where the opportunities are in this industry. And this is why it has the magnitude that we're talking about. Okay, this is Robie Rasheed. He was one of the people we interviewed for the study. He's the largest drone operator in the Middle East. You saw some of his footage, and I want to really thank everybody and shout for contributing all the footage that allowed us to do these videos. He talks about weight used to be a limitation. It's unbelievable what the sensors. So you can just imagine, if you're not a drone operator, I'm not a drone operator, but you have cameras, you can have sensors attached to your drone, the different kinds of things you can do. And so he's flying drones and inspecting power lines, inspecting electrical towers, as you could see in the footage. And he said, what if we could add on a robotic arm? And you could do basic things like not only inspect the power line, but you could tighten a bolt. So now we're not just talking about a drone with a sensor or camera, we're talking about a robot in the sky. And this gives an idea of the amount of permutations and the ideas that are out there with all the different people that we interviewed and in the drone industry. So when you look across the spectrum, what are all these different things? There's the hardware, there's the platforms, there's the components and the systems, there's the software, there's the services, there's legislation and policy development. Are you someone sitting in the audience who's a lawyer who knows how to do policy development? There's education, training, and support. Every single one of these fields needs someone to train and needs someone to provide education and support for it. There are stakeholder associations. There is public engagement. So the spectrum on the possibilities in this industry are enormous. But what's really fascinating for me in South Africa is that not many of these do not require a high level of skills. It's some level of education. And remember, a lot of us are learning things on YouTube and on our cell phones these days, and a bit of technical training. And then we're moving into what we're calling new collar workers. And a new collar worker sits between a blue collar and a white collar worker. And this is a brand new level of labor. And in a country with such high unemployment and such high youth unemployment, we're looking at a tech level of new business that creates a different kind of job. So when we look at a new industry like the drone industry, it is an enormous opportunity for socioeconomic impact. And today we have Ekelebogile with us. And thank you very much for being here, all of our panelists. And I think this is really important. She says, we forget that South Africa has these deep pockets of very rural people. We are living in a city. We have all the amenities here. They're so deep, they don't even have IDs. What if Home Affairs could deliver IDs and collect applications? What if drone services for firefighting, for police, for delivery of medication, for all of these different things? Think of all the things that are needed in the rural area that it's so difficult to get out there. And why are we not reaching out to these pockets and looking at this rural as an opportunity? And Don Zoldi, the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting, said drones are equalizers in many respects. So when you look across the spectrum in terms of who can get into this industry, girls and women in the United States are going into drones at double the rate in aviation, and they're already very low in aviation. I was shown a video by Jennifer Birdsong from the Women in Drones group of a quadriplegic in his wheelchair flying a drone. These are the type of things that are happening out there. These are industries opening up for different people. So we need the resource mobilization. We need the infrastructure. We need the stakeholders. We need the investment, because what we should be doing is creating a sustainable pipeline from day one. We shouldn't be waiting and adding this on as we are in other industries, because this is where we can make socioeconomic impact. So people say, what is this about drones for good? You talk about drones for good. Well, remember, drones started out as military technology. And as it evolves over time, it comes into its own in a sense of humanitarian and conservation. So there are tree planting drones that are reseeding wild areas that were decimated by fires. There are, Zimbabwe Flying Lab is using robotics to teach people about drones and the technology. And if people might say, well, why are we going and taking robots into rural areas? But just think, in some of these rural areas, they didn't have telephones, and then they suddenly moved into cell phones. So we are looking at a very different level of leapfrogging technology. Drones are being used to fight poachers in the Kruger National Park. They're being used to identify cycads on the cliff sides, places where people can't go and they can't access. The amount of things that drones can do for good is astonishing. And there are amazing partners out there doing things. You've seen the South African National Blood Service. They're in the process of trying to secure their license. Women in Drones Africa, for those of you who are interested, has a group twice a week. They have ongoing Zoom webinars to share data and for free about the drone industry. Girls Fly program Africa is training women and girls in STEM skills. And we also have the Mzansi Aerospace Technology. People are doing some amazing work out there, and it's all very quiet, but there's astonishing drones being used for good uses. We need to leverage our success stories from Africa and beyond. When you look across, we've got amazing success stories, and some of it's financial and some of it's what the impact they're making on the ground. One of the big ones is UDS. It was the first company to get their drone commercial license, and they sold to Bidvest for R500 million. We've got Zipline attracting millions of dollars in funding, partnering with the government in Rwanda. We have Aerobotics down in Cape Town. They're not even on the CAA's radar because they're not a registered drone business. They are a drone service business. And they're getting, I think it was $17 million from NASPERS, 80 people in the staff located in offices around the country. We've got Alti building incredible drones down in the Western Cape, and DJI has their eye out for them, and they don't sell a single drone inside this country. You've got Paxis, which is the precision agricultural systems, and they are doing, this is 6 farmers down, sugarcane farmers who got together and created a drone company. And they are training youngsters, you saw in the videos, and they are also developing new solutions for the spraying of sugarcane. And I think a fascinating story that Tim Weiss told me was he can now fly drones up to marginal areas all around his territory in the farms. And he said there were places we couldn't get to with a tractor. And now we can fly drones there. We can take in equipment. We can take in fertilizer. We can take in different level. We can take in water. He said these places in the land never used to have any value. And now it's reevaluating the real estate value of those farms. And then Inspire Africa is using drones as tools. Imagine you're a child and you have a drone flying and you'd say, turn 45 degrees. When you see math on the ground, you might not know what it is, but drone turned 45 degrees, drone turns 90 degrees. You activate a level of learning that's very different. So these are just a handful of these success stories. So, whoa, here I'm skipping pages. So now I'm gonna just take you through a snapshot of each of some of the different chapters that we're not gonna go into as much detail. So the first thing is the drone legislation, the policy, which I alluded to earlier. So what's really critical about policy, and remember this is a very specific technical topic, is that we really do need the strategy and the policy to drive this regulation and make these much needed reforms. And I think what's really important to say is nobody has all the answers in this industry. Nobody is the perfect expert. And so I really want to emphasize that it's getting the answers from many different areas. And there is a rigidity in the current regulations that's prohibiting small entrepreneurs and is creating an oligopolistic market. And there's not an understanding of how women, youth, and SMMEs can come into this business and can benefit from these changes in the legislation and the policy. And the last part is really just to talk about the lack of expertise. And I'm not specifically looking at government. There's a lack of knowledge. And I can say this myself, 26 years in aviation does not mean I'm a drone expert. It means I'm touching on the beginning of getting into the drone industry. But we need to build this expertise across the board and all different levels in order to take this industry forward. If we can have procurement people who understand the drone industry, at all different levels, we expand the business. So these are some of the areas that are going to become incredibly important in the future. Okay, chapter 3, we talk about drone ecosystems. Now, we're not going to go into detail on this one today, but this is just to give you a snapshot of what the drone ecosystem looks like. And remember, when you're in a brand new industry like this, it is evolving. I will put this up and then tomorrow it will change and there'll be new players and the numbers will change and you can go onto the CA website and the pilots will change and people will drop off and come on. And we will be sharing this in more detail in conjunction together with Women in Drones Africa on the 4th of November. So those of you who are interested, please take note. We'll put a little note on that in the chat. And we've looked at the drone ecosystem, what makes it a successful ecosystem in the value chain on the 4th of November. And drones can solve wicked problems. This is so exciting. If you look at humanitarian aid, we've talked about, you look at socioeconomic inclusion. If you think about the townships and the spatial barriers, if you fly your drone up over the townships and you begin remapping where things are lying, where can you take this forward? You've seen this on conservation, mechanization. Just think 2 months ago when we had the disruption on the supply chains in KwaZulu-Natal. If we could have had drones flying over this, how much would this have helped? All of the people who are struggling with the threats on the safety and the disruptions on the supply chain. You saw on-demand lifestyle, Mana delivering medical equipment, food in 3 minutes. This is the Uber of the skies. Hey, we're living in a pandemic right now. What about emergency supply chains? What about commercial scale challenges? And what about government efficiency and better service delivery? And the big one is data collection and analysis. You can take data from space. I think we have Ian Kiley here today. He's taking drone technology, combining it with space technology from satellites, overlaying technology, and it's these permutations and the way we're collecting the data and using the data is going to bring lots of new inventions into this industry. So who are we talking about? This is really an industry for young people. This is one that should be driven by young people, and they're really at the heart of it. So the question is from our side is, how can we assist this process to open this up more for young people? On the 11th of November, we have a piece of work called the Mind Map of the Drone Industry, where we did an extremely large amount of processing of insights from all the different areas. And we'll be sharing that in much more detail. Unfortunately, it didn't go into the study. But everyone who knows in the drone industry knows that there's big issues coming up. There's issues in connectivity. I think someone raised up the issue on cybersecurity, on security itself, on design. There are people out there who, they're not registered with the CAA, but they're building drones in their garage. They're 3D printing parts. It's incredibly exciting. So what are some of the solutions? This is Professor Marwala, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg. He's also the head of the 4IR Committee, the Presidential Commission, Public-Private Partnerships. And I'm sure you're all sitting there saying, oh, we always knew it's public-private partnerships. But what's different? This is a brand new industry. We need to take public-private partnerships in a completely different level because no one has all the expertise. And most likely the private sector is moving much faster than any of the public sector can do. So we need to make sure that these partnerships are very, very strong and embedded, and the sharing of data and the trust that's built. And then when you look on the technical side, he talks about, Professor Marwala talks about spectrum. We need spectrum, we need skills. Look, this is a new kind of artificial intelligence. We're talking about control systems. We need control engineering skills, we need robotic skills, we need communication skills, basic communication, we need aeronautical skills. And these are part of some of the areas that we need to look at. Dr. Sumari Root, co-chair of Silicon Cape and head of Tech for Good, or founder of Tech for Good, also said, we need entrepreneurs who can develop sustainable business models. Right now there's 83. Out of those 83, how many do I think are sustainable businesses? We'll be lucky if it's a third. And the reason behind this is, first of all, you have those regulatory issues, but you also have a lack of understanding of this industry. But in order for venture capitalists to take this area seriously, we need viable business models, and we need a collective approach to gather this intelligence. So this is the last chapter in the publication, and we had 7 key insights, and these were 10 of the solutions. So really, it's about embracing and adopting this new industry. This is the iPhone of tomorrow. How do we take a leadership role in South Africa, on the continent, and in the world? How do we recognize that the growth in this industry starts with government legislation? Hello, my government partners, we need you. We need the legislation, we need the policy, we need the frameworks. We need to acknowledge the industry is an aviation industry in the end. But yet, the most important economic potential lies outside of aviation in the tech space. And then we need to understand what's a new collar job. What does this mean? How do we skill people up for the future's workforce? How do we build a culture of tech adoption? How do we build drone expertise? And a critical point is, and those of you who are in the tech space fully understand this, how do we implement tech-related frameworks for new legislation, that we don't tie down our tech or with legislation that's inhibiting the growth of these sectors? How can we build ecosystem approaches that are inclusive so we make sure we get all of the different groups and from the beginning? And then on an operational basis, and this was one that really excited me, how do we implement drone test pilot sites and drone air corridors? Don Golding told me a story about the Choctaw Indian tribe in rural Oklahoma that has carved out a piece of marginal land and is building test sites where they can develop income in a rural area, in a rural economy. Then when you look at the future, you've got incredible technology and you've got incredible expertise in this country as well. We've got young people. I think I indicated Keith Malaho, I've indicated Sam Twala, Sonette Koch. We have a lot of experts in this country. We need to look at what the future is coming up. Next year, there will be people who will be landing in airports and will be transported by drone to hotels. So where is South Africa in the dreaming of this next level in UTM, in our airspace? And the last is we really need to endorse collective partnerships. There is no one group in the ecosystem that has all the expertise. We need to bring together those different partners to maximize our ability to take advantage of this industry. So I think, okay. And this was Andile Vilakazi, a graduate of Mzansi Aerospace Technologies and Incubator. This is an incredible industry for young people. They are so excited. He says, I see drones are revolutionizing our lives. He said, this is how business is going to be done. I can see this making me realize my dreams, and I want to be part of that movement going forward. And I think for us at AIfE, we are inspired by people like Andile Vilakazi and his compatriots in that how can we assist as a NGO dedicated to research and the new technology to open those doors and help that dialogue to happen to make that possible. So the drone industry is here, it's coming, it's a chance for us to really endorse the fourth industrial revolution. It's an opportunity for South Africa to create new jobs, new businesses, new opportunities, and for economic growth, and then we can create a better future for entrepreneurs and for businesses and for South Africa as a whole. And thank you. I want to say a big, huge thank you for everyone who contributed to this study. It was an honor to work with all of you. And now I'm going to turn back to my colleague, Jabalile, and I will stop the share at this point.
Thank you so much, Tamiko, for sharing the wonderful insights. I see already there's conversations and questions going on the chat. And thanks to our panelists, I see they've already started responding on some of them. Interestingly, I see that there's already connections happening there. People are already networking and sending each other emails, which is good. And that's lovely. So hope you will be able to get more than just the insights, but also you can meet some people there. I see we're joined by people from all over the world. We've got people from different provinces in the country. We've got people from Scotland, Eswatini, Manzini, Malaysia, Ireland. So we represented all the different countries seem to be represented. I won't read everybody's comments, but thank you for joining us. We're going to switch on to the panel discussion mode. I'll ask my panelists to come on so that we can start having the conversation, and we'll try our best to answer your questions that we have posed there. Some of them are already answered in the chat. Those that we are not able to answer, or if you've joined late, please note the publication. You can register. You'll be able to get the access the publication, and as well the recording of this session. If you're looking to see in terms of the slides that have been presented, you'll be able to get the recording. So the slides really are an extract from the publication, so you'll get the full details from the publication itself. So I know Ekelebogile has been having a bit of a challenge with her network because of Wi-Fi. So if you are not able to switch on your video, Ekelebogile, is okay, so that you can save some bandwidth, so that we don't lose you in the process. Let me start. I've got a few questions for our panelists. I'll start with you, Kim. So you've been involved in the 2021-22 publication since we started, and also as a member of the Women and Drones. We've had a chat with you and your organization. And also, since you are both a drone operator and a member of the Drone Council SA, what role do you think research of this nature and how, in your capacity as an operator or a member of Women and Drones and the Drone Council, see how this information can be taken forward? I know it's a lot of information that has been shared here, but you've been involved from the start, so you've got the full picture, even if we didn't share all the chapters. So if we can hear your views from there.
Thanks so much, Dr. J, and well done, Tamika, on a great presentation. I'm sure whoever is on this webinar today would have already gleaned so much just from your presentation without even having read the research. First, I don't want to miss congratulating Dr. J and Tamiko and the entire AIfE team for the great piece of research, and the fact that you're making it available to the market through these sessions and for free is actually incredible. So thank you so much on behalf of the industry to you guys. I think to answer the first part of your question, Dr. J, independent research of this nature is key for a number of reasons. I know there has been some paid research done in the past. In my opinion, from a South African perspective, having information like this in one place from an independent organization is unheard of, I think. Immediately when we see that number of the industry, the drone industry, being valued at like 40 billion or 43 billion US dollars by the year 2025, we immediately jump to the conclusion that we are nowhere, and it might be true. But I think this research also presents a balanced view of where we've come from and what opportunities there are without the hype. We're all on social media. We all see, BBC reports and consulting reports and, whatever people decide to post. And oftentimes what's showcased makes us feel insignificant instantly. And I think to Tamiko's point earlier on, South Africa is still in toddler stage in this industry. And I think there's a large expectation that this industry maybe is that silver bullet that's going to save or solve for many of the issues we face in this country that are unique to us. And I think this type of research provides the information in one place, as I already said, which I don't think exists in this country right now. So I think you've interviewed, you and your team have interviewed South African-based experts, as we call people. I mean, again, who's an expert in 5 years? But anyone who has touched the industry, been through the regulatory process, is operating, is manufacturing, is teaching, will have something to add. And you've interviewed these people from a South African perspective, but also outside. And it gives view from the entire drone ecosystem, from what's been learned in this short space of time. If I've got a little bit more time, what are we going to do with this information going forward? I think it will allow a lot of people who are looking for opportunities to validate a business idea. I think it gives people hope for the future, specifically youth, specifically women and young girls who traditionally wouldn't even think about an industry like ours. And I think rather than being frustrated by seeing the number of trained pilots that we have in South Africa compared to the US or China, because if you look at the percentage of population, it's actually not as off as it seems. But let's take this information and understand all the possibility, all the opportunities, and also understand that it's not only focused on drone pilots. And I think Tamiko's, given a lot of perspective there. One last comment I'd say, and of course, this is just, very, very high level to your question. I think organizations need to review research like this and embrace this technology, because right now we have the will and we have the supply, but the demand is not there yet. So we're not balanced. And I think opportunities exist in organizations reviewing research like this to embrace technology to create that demand. Companies are not yet able to dynamically look at a P&L or their cost lines with the view of implementing drone technology and the cost that brings versus the cost savings or ROI opportunities. I'll stop there for now because I can go on and on, as you know.
Thank you, Kim. That's very insightful, and thank you for highlighting that also in terms of the demand and the supply, but also still showing the future, the possible future, exciting future. If you look or start imagining the future with drones as part of our lives and all that. So thank you for that. Let's go to AIfE. AIfE, let's talk to the young ones and here, because I'm sure young people there watching, they're saying, what can we do? How can we get into this? So you've been in the drone industry for several years now, and your company and work has evolved over the years. What do you see as the biggest opportunities in the space for young entrepreneurs? So I'm sure we've got a lot of entrepreneurs here listening. You are an entrepreneur yourself, you are young. What is it that you see as the biggest opportunities in the space, particularly in new technology?
Oh, thank you, Dr. J. Good day to everybody. I think, just to touch on the question around, what's the biggest opportunity for young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs alike. I think Tamiko had a really great slide that sort of, highlighted some of the other areas, peripheral areas and opportunities just outside, the drone service business, and I'll call it that. But other opportunities that I think are in structuring the industry. There's OEM opportunities, and what I mean by this is that right now, where we sit, the industry itself, I think Tamika also alluded to that it's not fully monitored. We don't have a really well-structured way of knowing how many drones came in, how many, I suppose, pilots are there really, and I think that in that lies an opportunity for creative minds, guys who have, a background in legal, guys who have, background in sort of, creating structure where there's no structures, because it is a new industry. And I think for it to move from crawling phase to, a great commercial phase where Kim alluded to it as well, where, enterprise understands the return on investment, where enterprise, it's quite clear, the benefit, whether this provides them ubiquity, they are now able to pull P&L statements per asset, or are they able to pull P&L statements of that asset portfolio using drones, because it just offers them that level of ubiquity and visibility of the remote assets. So there's an opportunity in that I think, perhaps we haven't really touched on much, but I really think there's a huge opportunity there for young people to come in and provide some of their insights around how do we structure this, this sort of new industry? How do we bring about, techniques to monitor this new industry? Because one of the big issues that civil aviation is facing today, for sure, is they don't know who's flying, where they're flying, whether they have a license or not. And I think there's an opportunity in that. And that's sort of a segue for me to go into the other opportunity, which is an OEM opportunity, where I think as South Africans, or the industries such as industry bodies such as IDC, etc., and young people need to be looking at opportunities to manufacture some level of tracking devices. I saw there's somebody who mentioned in the comment box, but there is that opportunity, because as I'm reiterating this, for this industry to grow, we need to be able to monitor all sorts of variables, and we need to be able to track this. So that's sort of some of the opportunities that I'm pointing out. And the last one would be the education and knowledge gap. I think generally we look at playing at the front of the industry, but there's an opportunity to play just behind the pilot, where we're providing educational content to organizations, perhaps young people. If I was basically didn't have a company and I saw this, I would probably take this research material, put together a presentation, and go start presenting it to organizations, because I mean, this is a great bunch of information, consolidated information, that I can pull certain insights, and I can go to an Anglo and say, Anglo, here's a presentation. I think this potentially could look like this for you guys. I can be the middleman. I'll go find a company with an ROC, etc. So there are those micro opportunities there, which I just thought I should highlight. I think the other opportunities, the information is readily available online, but I think there is that opportunity to play just behind, the guys, the guys with the RPL licenses, the companies with the ROCs. I think, as an individual, if I was in that position, I would really take this sort of opportunity to then, provide services around, peripheral, I suppose, services around the drone industry, because I think they are key in taking this industry to the next level. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for that, Pure. I like the tip that you've given the young people to say, take the publication, listen to the presentation, pick up things that talks to you, see what opportunities are there, the small things that you can start with. I think that's a very good advice. So anybody I saw there were questions in the chat. How do we get into the space? How do we get started? There's a lot of resources that you will find from the publication. We've got an appendix dedicated to just giving you resources in terms of where to find what and those kind of things. So take up yours a tip, go look at the presentation and find what talks to you, and then see where you can start. And also our panelists are availing themselves to say you can connect with them on LinkedIn. They've provided their emails, talk to them and find out how they started, how they got into the space themselves. Let's see if Ekelebogile is able to talk and we can be able to hear her, because she's been struggling earlier. Ekelebogile, are you okay?
Hi, Dr. J. Hopefully I'm audible.
Good. We can hear you loud and clear. Okay, so Ekelebogile, on your side, so we just spoke to a young person, giving us his perspective as a young person. But you've been heavily vested in the tech and 4IR space, and you've worked intensely with young people. What do you suggest for young entrepreneurs out there on how they should take opportunities forward and how they can leverage information such as the publication? One of them, Apua also has alluded to say, look at the publication and see what are the small things that you can take and start moving from that. So from the perspective of a person who's worked with young people, what is it that you would like to share with them in terms of how can they move forward?
Thank you, Dr. J. And I'm not even gonna try to put my video on since the network is being nice to me. So
That's okay.
I think, in fact, can we just share the link for the publication? Because I think now would be a good time, since we are referring to it, that people are aware of it and can just register and download it for themselves and find out all the good works that has been done. So much interviews that have been collected, information that has been put together in such an awesome publication. So, I mean, over the past years where I've worked with so many entrepreneurs, and the drone world for me also opened up like about 4 years ago, when I was helping startups that were interested in the drone technology, that challenged me now to start finding out more about the space. And that's when we crossed paths with the like of Victor, who is doing Mzansi Aerospace, and I think Gift and Queen were some of the entrepreneurs that were in my fold at the time. And just looking at what are other opportunities that drones present. And that came into a build-up of what we now recognize as the Drone Council South Africa. But the question is, from your side, from entrepreneurs' point of view, what can they do? How can they do? I think we're living in really exciting times now, where everything seems to be such a click away. 4IR, in as much as it all looked very scary and gloomy when it was approaching, and thanks to COVID-19, we were pushed right into the end of it, has taught us to be able to find things much more easily, to interact with the unknown. And as a result, I am seeing a whole lot more startups taking advantage of the space. Drone technology was something that was so far out, and not too many startups, and particularly Black startups from the previously disadvantaged areas, being interested in, because it was information that was not necessarily freely getting through to them. I like saying when people don't know what they don't know, and that was the case. So there is platforms called business incubators, where there's like a bridge, for lack of a better expression, to assist entrepreneurs to get into the space. I saw someone here was saying, how do we wear enterprise development platforms and spaces? And we were saying Mzansi Aerospace is one of those, and she was saying, but I got kicked out. Well, I did not get accepted because I was not youth, but there's still an opportunity to get involved. I'm sure post the intake that they were doing separately, you can still be in the fold, or you can join other programs. We've recently just ran Drone Diva program funded by the Gute Institute, and Inspire Africa was our service provider that was providing the training over 3 months. It was quite intense, and I see Simon has also given a highlight of what they do here. It's coding, 3D printing. It was literally amazing. We had 21 young women that were participating there. And in the next 3 days, we're going to turn that skill and challenge them to get into entrepreneurship and see how they can turn that skill that Inspire Africa has instilled in them to turn it into a potential business. Now that they've been exposed to the drone technology, how can they take that skill and turn it into a business? So there really, honestly, is so much when one takes the time to research, just a desktop research, go on the internet and find out what, first of all, obviously you need to understand what tickles your fancy. And from there, just investigate who is playing in that space and how can you be assisted to go a further mile from there. And I've really seen how business incubation programs works. And I'll give you examples of the likes of Gift and Queen, who came there and they were really frustrated. They didn't really know how to do what. There was no value chain because you're only now creating the drone technology value chain in South Africa. And post that, they got referred to one program after the other, and now they're flying and making their inroads, you know. So take time out, find out, get the latest publications, research, follow various people, and like Dr. J was saying, Kim and them are doing Women in Drone every Tuesday and Thursday, and it's awesome. So join various platforms, and yeah, there's a lot that can be achieved.
Okay, thank you, Ekelebogile. That is very useful. So I was going to pose that question to you on the ED. Thanks that you've already responded to that, because there was a question about where are there any ED opportunities out there that entrepreneurs can get involved in. So thank you for answering that. There were also questions relating to training. I know that you've responded on the chat as well. I don't know whether, Kim, you want to add on that in terms of what are the trainings in terms of RPL. There was somebody asking specifically in Durban. I don't know, Kim, do you want to take that? Just overall in terms of training, where it is, where they can get it, RPL or any other drone-related training.
Sure, Dr. J. So the RPL training is conducted by and offered by CAA accredited training organizations, and there are a number of them in South Africa. We're actually going to put up a list of those that are registered on the Drone Council website. So if you Google, CAA certified RPL training, there will be a number that come up there. We can put some in the chat here. Actually, I'll download a few now. If you're looking for sponsored training, I know TITA has sponsored a couple of companies in this financial year. They've absolutely looked at doing that in the first instance. I think they sponsored 260, if I'm not mistaken. I might be corrected on that for this financial year. And I know they're going to be doing more next year. So look out for some of those opportunities for sponsorships. TITAS is most certainly active in that space. But the Drone Council South Africa will be putting some of that information up on the website within the next while.
Thanks, Kim, for that. And there was something specific to manufacturing, training in relation to drone manufacturing or assembly.
Yes, apologies. Okay, so I just covered the RPL piece. The remote maintenance technician course is now also available, and there are a few companies that do that. I know there's a company called Ntsu. They're doing it. I need to quickly, I'll post some in the chat. But again, there are some companies that are sponsoring that, because obviously these courses are aviation related. There's always safety attached to that, and they're still quite expensive. So to self-fund is clearly a challenge for a lot of people. And so just look out for those sponsorship opportunities. But I'm going to post some links here in the chat now as well.
Okay, great, thanks. I saw your mic was on. Do you want to add to that?
No. It was network.
Okay, I can't hear Apua. I guess that is a no.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we've lost your sound. Okay, cool. We'll leave it there. Tamiko, I want to bring you back in terms of the publication. So there's a lot of questions that people are really asking about training, resources, where to get what and all that. Do you want to maybe shortly give some kind of high level in the publication where they can find such information, or how they can navigate the publication to assist them with the where when all the resources that they've been asking about?
Yes, thank you, Jabulile, and thanks to all the panelists. Yes, if you download the publication, and I see Vinny has put the link in the chat, so please go to the chat. You will have to register for the publication. And at the back in the appendices, what we did was Vinny spent about 8 to 12 weeks researching every single ROC, every single ATO, every single training organization, every single organization. So if you go into the very end of the appendices, there is a web link. So you can see who's doing what, and you can see which organizations are out there and where the support is. And to the questions that are coming up about ED and that, it's really still in a new stage. So we don't have an existing ED structure set up for the drone industry. We don't have an existing set of bursaries like we do in a lot of industries. It's really a new industry. So I think those of you who are there, you're going to have to do a bit of homework. You're going to have to go onto all those web links. But Vinny spent an enormous amount of time putting that together. So it will short circuit that for you. And you can go onto each of the web links and click on and see which ones are relevant for you and which ones are not. And it's a combination of companies that have sponsored drone companies and support organizations, incubators. So really it's you looking at your needs and matching them up with who's in the group. We've done our best to give you the best information that's in the market at this point in time. Thanks, Jabulile.
Okay, thank you, Tamiko. I think we've covered, because most of the questions were around similar themes. I think we've covered those questions, and we're almost hitting our time up. What I would like to give just from each of our panelists, just your last thought, one tip or one thought that you want to share before we close. We start with you, Kim.
Thanks, Dr. J. I think definitely download the research, at least it's the one place in the industry right now that's probably got the most information in one place. So definitely download that for sure. Please make sure you reach out to people like me, reach out to people like Ekelebogile, AIfE, join the Drone Council of South Africa, join Women in Drones. This is the place that you can learn, connect, and ask questions in a safe place. So I think in closing, be patient. We've come a long way. We have a long way to go, but everyone's trying to do their part. And if we all kind of work together as opposed to in silos, I think we'll get to amazing places. And thanks so much for the session today. Well done to you and your team.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for taking the time. Ekelebogile, your last thought?
I echo Kim. Please register yourself on the Drone Council. And thank you very much, guys, for the work done with this publication. Let's stay curious. We may have been amazingly, I don't know if people know, but at some point we were at the forefront of the drone industry, and then South Africa lost it somehow, and then we had countries like Kenya and them running ahead. But we've come back. We are developing a solid ecosystem, and just be on the lookout and participate where you can.
Thank you, Ekelebogile. Let's see if AIfE got his sound back.
Okay, is it working now?
Yep, it's working.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah. So, okay, I suppose my parting words is just, just the words of sort of inspiration for, or at least to motivate the guys that are at the back, the guys who haven't even started, registering the RPL, etc. I just want to re-emphasize that it's a new industry. Nobody has all the answers. A lot of guys have received a lot of funding, but really haven't made a lot of ground. So it's not as, you're not as far as you think you are. And I would really say, trust your gut, because we're all in the dark, with the entire 4IR concepts. We're all in the dark. Trust your gut, take your time, do the research, and try and add your own unique fingerprint. You'll never go wrong. There's always that thing inside of you that directs you. Follow that more than what we say or what we post or what the media is saying. So take this opportunity, read this publication. It's a great publication, consolidated information, made really easy for you. Back in 2015 when we started, we wish we had this. But yeah, I mean, it's great information. Ultimately, though, trust your gut. That's my parting words.
Thank you, AIfE. Tamiko, your last thought?
Thank you, Jabulele. Thanks, AIfE. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Ekelebogile. I just want to say, if I could wake up in the next 2 to 5 years and see thousands of you in businesses, successful, profitable businesses, and hundreds of thousands of people in the industry with jobs, then I will know that the effort we put into putting this together will have made a difference. And particularly for young people, for women, for people with disabilities and SMMEs. And that's really at the heart of what Dr. J and I are about, and the whole AIfE team. So I want to thank everyone for being here and participating. Please download the study, please comment on it, please join our AIfE page, and we will be sharing more insights and more data, and please look out for the next few talks as well. There'll be completely different information in a few of them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamiko. Thank you so much. I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone who joined us. We've come to the end of our conversation, and I trust you got something. There must be something that you got that you're gonna go back and do something about it. And as AIfE said, follow your gut and let's get moving. Let's be part of the solution. Let's make this industry work. As the panelist said, it's still new, so you are not as far as you think you are. So join and follow the right people. See our panelists here, follow them. That will automatically link you to different organizations and different platforms about new tech and the drone industry. And that's how you're going to get up to date on what is happening and use the publication as well. Nolene has already shared on the chat. We've got our next conversation on the 4th of November. Follow our LinkedIn page and you'll get all the updates. And thank you very much for staying on up until this far. You're a lovely audience. And thank you for all the questions. And our panelists, I can't thank you enough. Nolene, our organizer, made everything look professional and so nice. Thank you, Nolene, and the team, and to the AIF team. Thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of the day. That's Dr. J from AIfE and Tamiko. And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you.